Today, I want to talk about the yellow team in Fall Guys and explain why they attract so much ire and how we can change the tide. Fall Guys has exploded into the mainstream and reads about 20 million on the Scoville scale for spacey tweets. Who would have thought that to make a new splash in the overly crowded pool of Battle Royale games, all you had to do was fill it with jelly beans, take away the guns, and let the maddest lad alive run your Twitter account? However, there's one thing that all these beans just can't stand. No, not that. No, not that. Well, yes, but no, not that either. Okay, well, there's a lot of things they don't like. Just like any gaming community around, there's lots of things they hate about the game, despite sending it to the top of the Twitch and Steam charts almost every single day. No, there's one element in the game that is hated above all else, and that one thing, in many players' eyes, can never be redeemed. That entity that, if it was outright removed from the game, many players would rejoice. And that entity is the yellow team. Yes, even if you've not immersed yourself in the mounting of shitposting and memes, you may have yourself experienced the hate and humiliation the yellow team receives. There's something about getting assigned that sunshine sunflower hue that makes your blood boil. But I ask, why? We all know that Fall Guys is a game based on skill and practice and expertise. It certainly doesn't pick winners at random with unfair obstacles or give your fate over to a horde of idiotic ass grabbers. Team games. You see, what I mean is that colour shouldn't make any difference to your performance at all, and yet time and time again it does. Look, team games aren't anyone's cup of tea, but if you snatch the shortest straw of all, if you're on the yellow team, you might as well rage quit immediately and walk away from the game. You see, while it's not intuitive, colours actually affect everything we do in ways that we might not realise. It influences the way certain foods taste, it can influence the efficacy of certain medications, and it influences how attractive we find other people. Social indiscretions aside, I'm here to answer the question once and for all and get to the root of why we hate the yellow team so much. And this isn't just limited to jelly beans sliding down a slippery slope. There is globe-spanning proof that the colour you wear for a fight may simply disadvantage you before you step foot in the ring, or square, or cube, I don't know. Join me if you will, and we'll find our enlightenment together. So I'm not a scientist, but I know as the wave things of light travel into your retina and make electric signals that go into your brain connects them with either an innate biological meaning or a cultural association. Heck, we even know that from our daily idioms. It's why getting the blues doesn't typically refer to my weekly prescription pickup. It's why people turn green with envy, even though if they really were turning green, they're probably not envious, they probably just had too much of my prescription. There have been a lot of studies and pseudo-studies on the topic of colour association and our response to colours. Some date back as far as the 1700s, which favourably associated yellow and orange hues with heroes and adventurers, and blue and violet with historians or public speakers. Now, typically, the way people associate colours differs across cultures. For instance, if I receive a red envelope, I typically assume it's some sort of warning or important message. But in China and other East Asian societies, it signifies a monetary gift, which would be a nice change from the red envelopes I usually receive. Still though, some associations are near universal, and that might explain why the yellow team feels so pathetic. Okay, let's start with red. The most commonly associated with power, aggression, and anger. There's a reason why so many warning signs are red. It instinctively tells us, hey, this is dangerous, don't go near here. It's also associated with speed or tenacity, which is the reason the typical race car you imagine is red rather than blue. Famously though, red is known as a colour of passion, hence we have red roses and red hearts. It has also been tested empirically that women in red outfits appear more attractive to heterosexual men than women in other colours. So hey, next time you're on the red team and being chased around the arena, maybe you should ask yourself if they're really looking for more than just tail. Wait, no, that's exactly what they're looking for. By contrast, blue is generally seen as the calmer, more confident cousin of red. Some may view it as bland or boring, but really more widely it's understood to be reliable, to be high quality, to be predictable and trustworthy. It's so reliable it happens to be the favourite colour of over 1/3 of Americans. It's just hardwired into our brains to feel at ease when confronted with the colour blue. A study found that when given a placebo pill of blue or white, they believe it had a calming effect on them. It's even been used in street lighting to help reduce crime in areas. Lots of brands are aware of this, and they use colour to convey their reliability or their trustworthiness to put the customer at ease. Brands like Ford, Dell, Intel, GE, American Express, the Smurfs. Similarly, people use green in their logos to indicate that they're environmentally friendly, or they want to show they care about the environment while literally being in the business of destroying it. And so then, we are left with our friend yellow. Well, unfortunately, what has been found is that the colour yellow is primarily associated with inexpensive or low-quality things. Yes, there's a reason why so many generic value brands opt for that colour. If I were to show you these logos or these ones, does that fill you with confidence? Does it instill a sense of competence, of luxury, high-quality goods or services? Sure, these brands have used that association to their advantage, attracting the budget-mindful consumer, but it's not the best look if you're trying to fight your way to victory. Again, if we look to idioms for the source of our truth, we find the phrase yellow-bellied referring to cowardice, not to be confused with jaundice, which in addition to a yellow belly leads to a yellow face, yellow arms. There's actually a long history of why this is the case. In the early Middle Ages, yellow was used to represent divine light, a golden glow of the supreme being. That started out as a good thing. But later on, for reasons unknown, yellow started to signify something else. Yellow signifiers of crosses and stars were imposed on people who were viewed as heretics or non-believers. Later on, during the Renaissance, yellow was also adopted by prostitutes as a signal of their services. Some have even speculated that the yellow refers to the yolk of a chicken, another shorthand for a coward. But the phrase chicken to refer to cowardice didn't appear until much later in the 20th century, so would you just shut up and let me eat my cowardly eggs in peace? All of this might be the reason why yellow ranks dead last for men's favourite colours and is tied with white and brown for women. Ultimately, no one likes yellow, and we have the stats to prove it. And yet, knowing this, I can't help but think our brains are sufficiently more evolved enough to divorce our colour preferences from our performance in a competitive game. Well, it's incredibly hard to tell. You see, Fall Guys is very unique in that it's the only game in the world that assigns players of opposing teams different colours, which means we have to fundamentally examine what the... So it's a common thing in sports. I'm unfamiliar with the concept of sport. Okay, so let me rephrase. Let me just tweak that last bit slightly so I get it right. Colours have been used to signify teams for as long as games and competitive sports have existed. Fall Guys is nothing new. The extent to which colours of uniforms or kits affect performers has been covered in a number of studies. One study looks at world-famous sports, boxing, taekwondo, Greco-Roman wrestling, and freestyle wrestling. In the 2004 Olympics, these sports were randomly assigned either a red or a blue uniform in a tribute to Bernie Burns. And researchers found that over all the events, a statistically significant pattern emerged. Red was more likely to claim victory over blue. Again, later on, another study looked at English football teams and found that the red stripe worn by players made them statistically more likely to win. We can't continue to pretend that colours have no impact on the performance of teams in games. We can't keep pretending that it's fair to have a yellow team in a game where a red, a blue, and a green team also exists. They will statistically and psychologically be at a disadvantage. This is made even worse by the gang mentality of online games and social media. Once we realise that one team is at even a slight disadvantage, we begin to share it and other people begin to see it. More people become aware of this disadvantage and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Once you're assigned the yellow team, you feel a sense of disappointment, not just because of the cultural and psychological associations we've discussed, but because of all the content and the memes you've seen on social media before saying that yellow team sucks. Furthermore, other players feel superior to the yellow team, backed by their huological predispositions to aggression and anger, and they take it out on the yellow team themselves. Everyone gangs up on you. You put all of this together and you've got a team that is out of options. All they can do is give up. And that is why it looks like the yellow team will be condemned to failure and mediocrity forever. Or perhaps not. I don't want to be a pessimist. I want to see the opportunities in the world, and I want to find room and space to grow. For all of my research, I could not find a base, evolutionary, primal reason why people should avoid the color yellow, or why people should be afraid of the color yellow. It's been posed that the advantages of the color red does have a basis in evolutionary psychology. But with the color yellow, it was mostly all cultural, even though it started hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And I believe it's not too late to turn that cultural tide. I mean, look, maybe it's all in the name. Did you look at the Los Angeles Lakers uniform? I didn't until now, and when I looked at it, it looked pretty yellow to me. Gold? We're gonna call that gold? You're gonna go to such mental gymnastics that you're not gonna call the color yellow yellow. Look, if Kobe Bryant, one of the most successful professional basketball players of all time, could wear yellow, I think you can wear yellow to roleplay as a jelly bean putting an egg in a hole. But I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't blame you. As I said, it's in the culture. It's been with us for hundreds and hundreds of years. But here's the fascinating part. One study found that when presented with literal yellow jelly beans, calling them yellow or lemon would result in people liking them less than calling them razzmatazz. And this is why so many jelly bean names are ridiculous and don't line up with their flavor at all. It's simply some way to get around calling it a boring name or a boring color. So I'm starting the conversation. The yellow team is no longer the yellow team in my brain. It is Team Razzmatazz. But maybe we don't have to stop there. Why are we limited to simple color? Why don't we have Team Ombre or Team Fire or Team Trees competing in our battle royales? The quicker we can do away with these loaded cultural colors, the quicker we can level the playing field. The quicker that the yellow team can stop being persecuted. I don't think I'm crazy here. I think I see a brighter future. Where do you think we can go? How do you think we can dig ourselves out of this hole? I don't think deleting the yellow team is going to solve any problems. I think we need to fundamentally restructure our understanding of what teams are and the colors we assign them. That's my hill, and I'll slide down it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.